The first thing is the people. Obviously, this business is about the connections you make and the people you trust. And the most important people that I trust in this industry are at this company.
The new beginning. Other companies are doing things the same way they've always done them. And so having a new opportunity to do things a different way is what really intrigued me.
I'd say from a sales perspective, what I love most is that we have really the best of both worlds. So we're a big multi-billion-dollar international company with great financials. But on the other side, we also feel very much like the small little family-run company.
I like the safety of First American, but they've got a human side to them, you know, a little softer, gentler approach. And I really appreciate that. And they've really given me a great opportunity to go out and try and build something for them.
In Colorado, guess what? We're all local. There's 4 local underwriters, and together the other day we have almost 125 years of local underwriting experience in Colorado. And I tell that to people all the time, and that's really the big difference. We can make local decisions quickly to get that deal to the closing table. That's the big difference.
We're a team, and we support each other and look out for each other, and it really promotes more business for us.
First American is all about a work-life balance, and the leadership is incredible because they truly care about the customers or the associates that work here.
This is our customer service department, and the marketing support services that are just completely robust. Marketing is a challenge for a lot of real estate brokers. It's something they have to do, but it takes a lot of time. It can be expensive, and we have a fulfillment solution that is far and away better than anything else that our competitors have to offer.
The leadership is very down to earth, and they move very quickly. So anytime I've needed something or had to support a customer or had to make a decision that maybe cost the company money or whatever, they're very quick to make a decision on that stuff.
You're working with people who have been in this market, in the Colorado market, for 30 plus years. At one point, First American was underwriting almost 70% of all transactions in Colorado, and some of those very people were working on those files.
I really believe our people are passionate about our company and do it better.
And with Uverse, you can move your TV anywhere in the house.
We're happy with Xfinity. Why would we move the TV?
I don't know, but let me show you. Now, if you had the Uverse wireless receiver, you could take this anywhere. See? Anywhere you want.
Don't settle for Uverse. Get the most entertainment on any device anywhere with Xfinity from Comcast.
What if there was no car legal hotline? Just one call to a lawyer would cost you at least $250 per hour. What if you only had unreliable or hard to understand industry reports to include in your business plans and share with your consumers? What if there was not an organized association to fight for your right to conduct business in a fair and equitable manner and to protect consumers' private property rights? What if CAR never changes with the times to meet our members' needs? You don't have to ask what if anymore, because over the last 18 months, CAR expanded the legal hotline 2 more hours a week to help answer your legal questions. CAR created a research program that provides Colorado realtors with accurate and reliable quarterly housing market reports. CAR successfully advocates on Capitol Hill each year on behalf of all Colorado realtors and private property owners, so you can focus on your business. CAR created a professional development program that focuses on timely and relevant real estate issues through our live webcast program. CAR established relationships with many real estate-related companies to give you member discounts on things you actually use and need to be successful. CAR produced phenomenal networking and professional development opportunities in 2013 through its meetings and events. CAR's quest to make your state association better, stronger, more relevant, and able to withstand future challenges of the real estate industry is a never-ending journey. We have successfully put many solid processes, programs, and services in place. Now it's time to take the next steps of our journey by adding more value to your membership. Our vision is to create more opportunities for Colorado realtors to lower their risk by expanding the hours of the CAR Legal Hotline. Provide more reliable industry and consumer data to make you more confident and productive in the sales process. Produce even more live webcasts you can apply to your ever-changing business and help you remain on top of your game. Build a deeper political war chest to help preserve the industry and protect your consumers' rights. Increase our outreach to our local realtor associations, MLSs, and members. Take advantage of your CAR benefits and features. Visit coloradorealtors.com for details.
Who wants more peas?
Go away.
Oh, Daddy hates pop-up ads. Who wants
Go
more?
away.
Hashtag dinner time.
Scroll forward.
Choose selfie. No. Selfie.
Go forward.
Delete selfie.
Go away.
Send picture.
Bookmark. Go away.
No, post photo.
Scroll up. Scroll forward.
Hashtag gravy.
The First Bank mobile app. Technology has never been so easy.
The first thing is the people. Obviously, this business is about the connections you make and the people you trust. And the most important people that I trust in this industry are at this company.
The new beginning. Other companies are doing things the same way they've always done them. And so having a new opportunity to do things a different way is what really intrigued me.
I'd say from a sales perspective, what I love most is that we have really the best of both worlds. So we're a big multi-billion-dollar international company with great financials, but on the other side, we also feel very much like the small little family-run company.
I like the safety of First American, but they've got a human side to them, you know, a little softer, gentler approach, and I really appreciate that, and they've really given me a great opportunity to go out and try and build something for them.
In Colorado, guess what? We're all local. There's 4 local underwriters, and together the other day we have almost 125 years of local underwriting experience in Colorado. And I tell that to people all the time, and that's really the big difference. We can make local decisions quickly to get that deal to the closing table. That's the big difference.
We're a team, and we support each other and look out for each other, and it really promotes more business for us.
First American is all about a work-life balance, and the leadership is incredible because they truly care about the customers or the associates that work here.
This is our customer service department, and the marketing support services that are just completely robust. Marketing is a challenge for a lot of real estate brokers. It's something they have to do, but it takes a lot of time. It can be expensive, and we have a fulfillment solution that is far and away better than anything else that our competitors have to offer.
The leadership is very down to earth, and they move very quickly. So anytime I've needed something or had to support a customer or had to make a decision that maybe cost the company money or whatever, they're very quick to make a decision on that stuff.
You're working with people who have been in this market, in the Colorado market, for 30 plus years. At one point, First American was underwriting almost 70% of all transactions in Colorado, and some of those very people were working on those files.
I really believe our people are passionate about our company and do it better.
Good morning. I'm Wes Parham, Director of Business and Professional Development for the Colorado Association of Realtors, and I wanted to thank you so much for joining us today. As you may know, there are literally thousands of distressed properties across Colorado that may never hit your listing services, and many of these properties maintain equity, which means that with the right guidance, they can present a unique opportunity for you. And we're lucky to have an expert with us this morning, in Aaron Levovic with Renav Services Group, to walk us through some of those opportunities. And I look forward to turning the program over to him in just a few moments. But first, I want to pass along a special thank you to First American Title for their support in presenting our webcast program, which, as you know, is part of the Professional Development Initiative here at CAR. And I'd like to give them just a few minutes to catch you up to speed on some of what they're working on.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Alyssa Young. I'm part of the team at First American Title, and I work out of our office in Boulder, Colorado. When it comes to keeping up with your past clients, what's your strategy? Do you use social media, print marketing, or an email drip campaign? I'd love the opportunity to sit down with you and discuss these options and some of the ways First American can help you stay top of mind with your most valuable clients. Our digital document system is a great example of how we can help. After closing, your customer will receive 6 emails a year detailing relevant market statistics specific to the area that they live in and with your information and photo at the top. The best part is you get alerted when your clients access their documents, giving you the opportunity to reach out and offer support. There are many more great features to this system, and I'll be better equipped to go over them with you in person. Call me for an appointment today to see how you can get the best results from your past clientele.
And thanks again to First American for your continued support. I also have a few quick housekeeping items. We've allocated an hour and a half for today's presentation with a 5-minute break scheduled at around 10 o'clock. If you have any questions along the way, feel free to type those in according to the instructions there on your screen. What we do is we collect those. We'll review them during the break, and we'll have Aaron address as many as he can afterward. We also have asked Aaron to stay around just a little bit longer this morning to demo a service related to his presentation, and we look forward to that as well. Finally, a link to a copy of today's PowerPoint and other materials that will be referenced can be accessed there in the area below the video screen that you're watching right now. If you have any questions or problems accessing those, please just send a note to the email address in front of you. So with that, our speaker is Aaron Levovic. He is a third-generation real estate investor and an expert on finding deals throughout the foreclosure timeline. Having personally invested in over 130 distressed properties himself, you can consider Aaron both a realtor and an investment mentor. And we appreciate him spending time with us today. And at this time, I'll hand the program over to Aaron.
Thanks very much, Wes, and thank you all for joining the webcast today. I first want to bring attention to the Colorado Association of Realtors for putting this together. This is your association dollars hard at work, so thanks to them. Also thanks to First American Title for sponsoring the class. So this class is called Finding Deals Before, At, and After the Foreclosure Auction. It's actually a short version of what I teach as a full day class or a 2-hour class. This is meant to be a 1-hour overview on the essentials of finding deals. I'm going to talk a little bit about buying properties at foreclosure auction, but really what it comes down to is we're all looking for properties for ourselves, for our clients who are having trouble finding deals on the MLS, and for investors as well. So let's get started. As Wes said, I'm a third-generation real estate investor. I'm actually from Chicago. I came out here for college in 1998. I went to the University of Denver. And after graduating, I went back to Chicago to start in my real estate investing adventure, we'll call it. I've negotiated, managed, controlled about 130 properties since then. I am a licensed real estate agent, a realtor with Your Castle Real Estate. And I'm one of the owners of Renav.com, which is a website that's created to help people like yourselves find deals, most of which are not on the MLS. But should be, and actually that's the goal. So we're going to cover a lot of information today, and it's all based on my own personal experience. I've bought and sold properties as is. I've bought and fixed and sold. I've worked with a lot of contractors. I've bought and held on to properties. At one point I was a hard money lender, And I've done multiple forms of partnerships as well throughout the years. But it's really important to note, I am not an attorney. I'm not a mortgage broker. I'm not a lender. I'm not a CPA. I'm not trying to give you any legal or financial advice here. This is just me sharing my experience and knowledge as a longtime real estate investor. Another thing, this class is only covering the foreclosure timeline and foreclosure process and the statutes only in Colorado, and only for foreclosures filed on or after January 1st of 2008. So if you remember any of the old rules or the old ways or the old opportunities, well, it's totally changed, and thank you for joining the class today. So here's what we're going to be talking about. This slide will come up a couple times throughout the presentation. You'll see that we're covering a good bit of information. As Wes said, if you had any questions, please don't hesitate to write your question in the based on the instructions on your screen, and we'll gather those questions, and after the 5-minute break, we'll address as many of those questions as we can. Again, I had to condense an 8-hour full-day class into this 1 hour of material, so please bear with me and know there's a lot more to learn. We just are limited on time. But that's okay. We're going to cover a lot of really great information. So we'll start with definitions. In order to understand the different opportunities throughout the foreclosure timeline, we've got to go through some boring stuff. Some of you may be familiar with the terminology, others may not. But let's start with when a foreclosure starts, essentially. So Tom and Mary, let's say they bought a property and they defaulted on the loan for one reason or another, and the bank wakes up however long later and says, you know what, we haven't received a payment or we've been defaulted against. We should start the foreclosure process, and we're going to do that by filing a notice of election and demand. This document is actually really important. It's recorded at the county level, and it shows who's foreclosing on the property, the owner's information, and not only what was the original principal balance of the loan when the loan was made, let's say in 2002, it also shows how much is the current outstanding principal balance of the loan. That information is really useful because if the loan's been kind of paid down for about 12 years, but maybe the default has racked up some fees, we could tell about how much is currently owed on that loan, and that could help us determine how much equity is in the property. The notice of election and demand is recorded, and it kind of sets the stage for the rest of the foreclosure process, and it determines who can do what, when, and how. We'll get to that in more detail, and we'll have it illustrated when we go through the foreclosure timeline slide. The next definition is the bank bid. So when you hear about a property going to foreclosure sale and you want to know what is the starting amount, that's the bank bid. That's the opening bid, the lender bid, the minimum bid, all synonymous. So that lender bid is what the bank is willing to bid on this property for. That amount can be what's owed on that loan, and by the way, that loan only, or it can be at an amount less than what's owed on that loan. If the bank decides, you know what, we're owed $200,000, but the property value is $190,000, so we want to open up the bidding at less than what's owed. We want to open up the bidding at, let's say, $140,000. The difference between what's owed on the loan, which is $200,000, and the opening bid amount, which is $140,000, is called deficiency. And as far as foreclosure auctions and investors who are buying at auction are concerned, deficiencies are a beautiful and important thing because that could create a good deal out of one that was maybe once a bad deal for an auction buyer at foreclosure auction. So again, we'll show what that looks like when we go over the timeline. And by the way, that bid is posted to the public 2 business days by noon, 2 business days before the foreclosure auction actually takes place. Now, I'm from Chicago, and when we were bidding at foreclosure auctions there, we didn't know what exact properties for sure are going to end up going to foreclosure auction and how much the opening bid amount is going to be. So being here in Colorado, it's a beautiful thing because to me, 2 business days is an eternity to get your due diligence done and get everything lined up and prepared to bid safely and conservatively. So the next definition is the certificate of purchase. The certificate of purchase is a document issued to the winning bidder, regardless of who that winning bidder is. Remember I said the bank bid is the bank starting the bidding at a certain amount? Well, there's two potential winning bidders at foreclosure auction. One is an investor that you hear about, oh, an investor got that deal at foreclosure sale. The other type of winning bidder is the bank. The bank bids, and if an investor doesn't come and compete against the bank will be the winning bidder. So regardless of who the winning bidder is after foreclosure auction, within 5 business days after auction, a certificate of purchase is recorded showing who bought the property, how much they paid for it, and I'll paraphrase, subject to certain things happening or not happening, that winning bidder or that certificate of purchase holder might end up getting title to the property. They also might not. There's certain things that can happen to prevent an auction buyer from getting the property. Again, this is kind of the dry stuff, and I'm going through it a little quickly. It's just the definitions. This will all make more sense when I go over the foreclosure timeline in a little bit. Continuing with the definitions, here's some really basic information that everybody needs to know and understand thoroughly. Any lien position can foreclose. And when I say a lien, I'm talking deeds of trust on title. Some people call them mortgages. In Colorado, they're deeds of trust if they're a consumer loan. A deed of trust is different from a mortgage in that it's a 3-party instrument rather than a 2-party instrument because you've got the public trustee is actually a party to the document. So any lien position can foreclose. It could be a first, a second, a 12th. Any lien position can foreclose. In Colorado, a deed of trust, because the third party on the document is the public trustee, that gives the ability for the public trustee to handle the foreclosure process. So if it's a deed of trust foreclosing, it's highly likely that it's going to be through the public trustee foreclosure process, and that's actually only what we're talking about today. Whereas if it's another type of lien on title, it can also foreclose, but that would be a judicial foreclosure sale. That would be the creditor suing the debtor, bringing it into court, and having the judge process the foreclosure process. That's not really what we're talking about today. On to lien position. Any lien position can foreclose, as I've said a couple times already. It's important to know that if it's a first deed of trust foreclosing, subject to junior lien holder redemption rights, which we're not going to get into just yet, if it's a first deed of trust foreclosing, then that winning bidder who bought that property at auction via the first deed of trust that's foreclosing, they don't have to pay off or worry about any junior deeds of trust or junior liens on title. So imagine a property is going to sale for $200,000 and it's a great deal. There's a $40,000 second on title, and somebody buys the first at auction for the $200,000 plus whatever they bid up to. They don't have to worry and pay off. They don't have to worry about that $40,000 second. Let's change that example. In fact, let's use the slide here. If it's a second that's foreclosing and it's a $10,000 junior deed of trust, then the winning bidder at auction, again, whether it's the bank or a third-party bidder, which is an investor typically, they will own the property. They will take title to the property. They could do the eviction, but they'll own it subject to paying off the first in full. So, and that includes all the late fees, penalties, attorney's fees, and so on in order to pay off that lien in full. So it's really important to know what lien position is foreclosing. Now let's cover the junior lien holder redemption process. Because here we have a $200,000 first and a $10,000 second. And let's say the $200,000 first is foreclosing. The $10,000 second, there might be plenty of equity in the property. So let's say the property is worth $300,000. That $10,000 second actually has a couple options. If the first forecloses for $200,000, that second can be wiped off of title. That's what I was talking about. If a first forecloses, they don't have to pay off the second. Or the second can do what's called redeeming. They can actually redeem out the foreclosure auction buyer and take title to the property. There's no limit to how many junior liens can redeem, and it's the final junior lien that redeems that will actually take title to the property. So we'll illustrate that a little more when I go over the foreclosure timeline, but that gives a sense of some options that a junior lien has on title rather than being wiped off of title and getting nothing. Now we're at the timeline, and this is where things are really going to start to come together and make sense. So here's the foreclosure timeline, and I want to point out the pre-foreclosure default portion, which is in the beginning, and I'm kind of circling that with the mouse here. This doesn't assume the reason for the default. Most of us think, well, a borrower defaults when they stop making payments, but if you actually read every word in a deed of trust and a promissory note, which I have, because I'm a nerd, there are actually a lot of reasons a borrower can default on a loan in addition to just not making payments. So assuming the loan is defaulted, the lender is defaulted against, and then the bank says, well, it's been 3 months or it's been 18 months. It's up to the lender when they want to start the foreclosure process. We've been defaulted against. We want to file the notice of election and demand. They deliver that to the local county public trustee. I realize I'm talking to everybody and people in different parts of the state of Colorado. So, of course, what I'm talking about now is the foreclosure timeline and process that is according to Colorado statute. I'll get into the actual auction process later, but this applies to everyone for now. So the notice of election and demand is delivered to the local county public trustee, and that sets the stage for the rest of the foreclosure process and foreclosure timeline. The foreclosure sale will take place about 120 days later. That, if you take nothing else away from this class, okay, we're looking for deals. We're looking for deals for our clients, for ourselves, for traditional buyers, for investors. If you take nothing else away from this class, remember this. This foreclosure timeline, and specifically this cure period, is designed to protect the public and give them time to make the decision to not lose their house to foreclosure auction. It's designed to give them enough time to work with you, the real estate professional that can help them avoid a foreclosure sale. So be sure to relay that to a distressed homeowner if you're trying to find a deal or work with a homeowner before a property owner, I should say, before the foreclosure auction. The reason I wanted to correct myself and say property owner is because if this is a deed of trust that's filed on title and it's going through the foreclosure process through the public trustee, it could be any property type. We're talking commercial. You haven't heard me mention commercial versus residential versus agricultural at all yet. This timeline and process applies to all property types with a notice of election and demand filed against it because of the deed of trust that's foreclosing. Anyway, this cure period is designed for the property owner to make the decision to work hopefully with you, the real estate professional. So there's a little over 7,000 properties in renav.com. We track 20 counties. As soon as an NED is filed, the property's in our system, and then we're aggregating a bunch more information to create a searchable database, essentially. So the reason I share this is actually for some stats. There's over 7,000 properties, probably over 8,000 properties in all of Colorado that fall in this cure period, this timeline, where the property owner still owns the property, the foreclosure sale hasn't taken place yet, and there might be an opportunity to help them prevent the sale, whether it's a short sale or just buying it before auction, because a lot of times now you'll actually find properties with equity in it. It used to be almost every property in foreclosure, if you wanted to buy it before auction, you'd have to do a short sale and ask the bank to take less than what was owed. So now there's actually a lot of properties with equity in it. Another stat I'll give you is that about 90% of these close to 8,000 properties in Colorado that are in this cure period, about 90% of them are not on the MLS. But they should be on the MLS because a borrower, an owner, is probably going to be benefited by working with a realtor who will then list it on the MLS or might be able to capture a deal before it forecloses for their buyer. So now let's jump over to the foreclosure sale. Again, the sale will take place between 110 and 125 days. I said before, about 120 days after the NED is filed is when the sale will take place. This is the one time you're going to hear me say, well, there is a difference between property types, and that's on agricultural property. If it's an agricultural property that's in foreclosure, this cure period, the time between the NED being filed and the foreclosure sale date, is about 220 days. That cure period is longer for agricultural property. Otherwise, same bad time, same bad channel, all property types. It can go to sale by the bank submitting a bid, a lender bid, an opening bid, a minimum bid, at least 2 business days prior to the sale. The lender has to submit that bid to the public trustee, who then makes that publicly available a day or 2 before the foreclosure auction, depending on which county you're in. So investors will take that information to determine what properties are going to sale, what can be bought at auction this week. It's like a buffet to choose from. And then you can determine which ones are opening at a good bid amount and prepare to buy by doing additional due diligence, some of which we'll cover later in the presentation. So that bank bid can be submitted 2 days before the foreclosure auction, the scheduled sale date, or not. Let's say the bank decides, you know what, we don't want it to foreclose because maybe we're working with the homeowner. Maybe we're trying to work something out. Maybe foreclosing isn't the best option for whatever reason. The bank could actually not submit a bid 2 days before the foreclosure auction. But then what happens? The foreclosure sale date was set for this day. Let's say it's today, because a lot of counties have foreclosure auctions on Wednesdays, every Wednesday. If the bank didn't submit a bid by Monday at noon, the public trustee will automatically push the foreclosure sale date back for 1 week. Okay, so now let's say it's Monday of next week, 11:59, 12 o'clock, 12:01, and the bank doesn't submit a bid again. Now the public trustee will say, okay, we'll push it back another week. And the sale date can be pushed back week by week by week by week until the bank finally does submit a bid. Or the bank could say, you know what, we're working with the homeowner, we're working with their realtor also, and the file is set to close in 3 weeks. So the bank could say to the public trustee, hey, let's push this foreclosure sale date out for a month to give the realtor time to get the property closed. So whether it's week by week by week by simply the bank not submitting a bid 2 days before the auction and the sale date keeps getting pushed back, or the bank says, well, we'll give them a month. Okay, well, let's give them another month. The bank has up until 1 year to foreclose, up to 1 year to foreclose. And that's 1 year from the originally scheduled sale date. A question I get a lot is, wait a second, does the bank have to foreclose within 1 year of the NED being filed or within 1 year of the original foreclosure sale date? Again, the bank has up to 1 year to foreclose within the original foreclosure sale date, 1 year. There's one exception to that I'm aware of, and that's if the homeowner files bankruptcy. Let's say the bank pushes the sale date back for 1 week, and within that week, let's say 5 days into that week, the homeowner files bankruptcy or an interested party files bankruptcy. Imagine that 1 year period post-auction being like a clock. And when a bankruptcy is filed, that clock stops. And let's say 2 years later, the property comes out of bankruptcy, the property is abandoned by the bankruptcy trustee, then the bank has the balance of that 1 year. So they were 5 days into that 1 year, they have another 360 days to foreclose, even though it's 2 years later that bankruptcy basically stopped the clock in its tracks when it was filed. Okay, so back to the slide here. The bank submits a bid 2 days before the auction if they do want to foreclose. Let's say the homeowner is not trying to resolve anything. The bank submits the bid. Again, that bid can be what's owed on that loan. By the way, it's only related to that loan that's foreclosing, which again could be any lien position, a first, a second, a 12th. The bank submits a bid 2 days before the foreclosure auction, and the foreclosure auction takes place. Now, there's a couple directions this could go. If let's say the bank opens the bidding at $100,000 and no investors come in to compete against the bank, then the bank is the winning bidder, a certificate of purchase is issued, and the bank will get the deed, probably, assuming no junior liens file an intent to redeem and redeem out the bank. We'll get to that later. So same thing for an investor. Let's say the bank opens the bidding at $100,000, and in Denver County an investor comes, only one comes in to compete against the bank, and an investor buys it for just $1 over. They bought it for $100,001. Again, if no junior liens come in to redeem out the auction buyer, it's that auction buyer that's going to get the deed, the confirmation deed to the property. But first what happens is a certificate of purchase is recorded, and it's recorded within 5 business days. So assuming no junior lien files an intent to redeem and no junior lien redeems out the auction buyer, the confirmation deed can actually be requested 9 business days after the foreclosure auction takes place. Let's change the example. Actually, no, let's not change the example just yet. Let's still talk about some opportunities. So we covered the cure period between the NED being filed and the foreclosure sale date. That's this cure period here. There's about 8,000 properties currently in foreclosure. There's a lot of opportunity to try to connect with the distressed property owner and make a deal. There's an opportunity to buy a foreclosure auction. Now let's talk about this opportunity with the certificate of purchase. Again, let's assume there are no junior liens on title, and you saw a property go to sale, or you looked up the stats and trends and looked at the results and saw, hey, there was a property went to auction, an investor bought it for $100,001. They got a great deal, but I want to buy the property from them, but I'm not an auction buyer. I don't really want to get into that, but I saw they got an awesome deal. I want to get a good deal from them. I could actually approach an investor who bought a property at foreclosure auction and say, hey, would you assign me your certificate of purchase? Rather than having to get the deed, take possession, clean the property out, fix it up, hire a broker, go through that whole rigmarole to try to take possession and get your profit, why don't you just flip it to me and make $5,000 today? There are some investors, I know at least in the Denver metro area, that's actually one of their main strategies. They love to flip assignments to their certificate of purchase and move on to the next. And they'll do it for $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 profit, and they'll give you an assignment of the certificate of purchase, which then puts you in the position as if you were the winning bidder with all the joys, benefits, and risks associated with buying at auction. But at least you didn't have to go and bid and compete and wait till you got a property. You just get one that's a great deal from somebody who just bought it. And you can make a business out of just looking at properties that went to sale and try to buy it from the auction buyers. And even the banks if you have a really stellar relationship. Excuse me. So that's another opportunity to point out. That's buying an assignment of the certificate of purchase. But with that comes some risks if there are junior liens. And I consult on this all the time. If somebody wanted to buy an assignment of the certificate of purchase, I would say, yeah, go for it if there's no junior liens, and give them the full amount and request the deed, and everything should be hunky-dory. Or if there are junior liens, what I'm going to advise is, hey, give the auction buyer the $100,001 that they bought the property for at auction. But if you were going to give them a $5,000 profit, a little kicker, escrow that $5,000 or tell them, hey, I'll pay you when I get the deed. Because what can happen to prevent an auction buyer or the final certificate of purchase holder from getting the deed to the property is a junior lien coming and redeeming out the auction buyer. In which case, that auction buyer will get 100% of what they bought that property for at auction, plus certain statutorily allowed costs and expenses that they incurred, like the cost of securing and protecting the property or cost of insurance. But if an auction buyer goes and replaces the bathroom and kitchen and then gets redeemed out, they shouldn't expect to be paid back for that because it's not a matter of securing and protecting the property. The auction buyer will just get their $100,001 back plus the other actually allowed expenses. Anyway, if a property goes to sale and has junior liens, let's cover how that would work. So I mentioned there's no limit to how many junior liens can redeem. And on your screen you see that there's 3 junior liens. Now this reads a little funny, but it's technically accurate. because what it's saying for the public trustee portion of the public trustee sale is that, hey, it could be any lien position that's foreclosing. It could be any lien position that's going to sale. It could be a first, a second, a 12th. It's only liens junior to the foreclosing lien position that will actually have these redemption rights. Because remember, if it's a junior lien that's foreclosing, let's say that's a second that's foreclosing, well, the third, fourth, and fifth would have redemption rights, but the first would remain on title. And if you bought the property at auction and it's a second, it's a junior lien that's foreclosing, you'll own the property, or if the final junior lien that redeems will own the property, subject to paying off the full balance of debt owed to the first that's on title, including all late fees and penalties and attorney's fees that's accrued by them. So again, it's really important to know what lien position is foreclosing and how much you're going to have to be into this property for. But let's say the first is going to sale for $100,000. There's a second on title for $50,000 and a third on title for $25,000. So again, we've got 100 first, a 50 second, and a 25 third. First goes to sale, property's worth $300,000, just as an example. Both of these junior liens independently are saying, hey, wait a minute, I don't want to be just wiped off of title and get nothing. I want to exercise my redemption rights. I want the opportunity to own the property. So they do so by any junior liens that want to exercise those rights must file an intent to redeem within 8 business days following the auction. They have to file this intent to redeem within 8 business days following the auction, showing, hey, I'm here, I exist, I am allowed to do so, and I want to exercise those redemption rights. Let's actually talk about what kind of liens have redemption rights. They must still be a valid lien. They, in other words, they must have a valid debt still owed to them. They must have been recorded prior to the recording date of the notice of election and demand, and they must file an intent to redeem within 8 business days. So they have to be a valid lien. They have to have originally been made and recorded. So remember, let's say this loan was made in 2002. This junior was made in 2003. This junior was made in 2004. And it's now 2014 that the NED was filed, and 2014 that the property is going to sale. So these are valid liens. They were recorded prior to the NED. They have redemption rights. And they filed an intent to redeem within 8 business days independently. The public trustee will gather these intents to redeem. They'll notify the auction buyer within 1 business day following the auction, hey, these intents to redeem were filed. Please provide what's essentially payoff figures based on what you bought the property for at auction, plus certain allowed costs and expenses that you incurred that you can get paid back for. And the first junior lien, remember this loan was made in 2003, has this window of time being 15 to 19 business days following the auction to actually come in with the amount of money necessary to redeem out the auction buyer. And what they'll receive is called a certificate of redemption. Hey, congratulations. You redeemed out the auction buyer, and subject to certain things happening or not happening, you may end up with title to the property, but you also may not. And one of those things that can prevent that junior lien from getting title to the property is the third redeeming them out. So each subsequent lien who also filed an intent to redeem within 8 business days following the auction, each subsequent lien has a 5 business day window following the previous window of time of the other junior lien. So let's talk about that. There's a first junior lien, has this window of time being 15 to 19 business days following the auction to come in with the $100,001 plus expenses to pay off the auction buyer. Auction buyer gets their money back and goes away. And then business day 20 through 24, that window of time from the original sale date, is when the second junior lien, or the third on title, who's owed 25, they have that 5 business day window to come in with the amount necessary, listen carefully, to pay off this lien in full. Remember, they were owed $50,000 plus what that lien paid to the auction buyer, approximately $100,000. So this third on title is coming in with approximately $150,000 to make this lien whole, make the auction buyer whole, And since they are the final junior lien to redeem, they're going to be the ones that end up with the confirmation deed. So just because you see an investor get a really killer deal at foreclosure auction doesn't mean that's the end of it. I can tell you I've bought junior liens at a discount. I've actually bought junior liens for the purposes of redeeming out an auction buyer. And I as an auction buyer, have bought a property at auction, and of course, I've been redeemed out. I don't like it, but it happens. I've been redeemed out by junior liens. So if you are going to buy a foreclosure auction, you might even consider, after winning the property, contacting the junior liens and trying to buy those as kind of an insurance policy to make sure you get the deal. Of course, it has to be at an amount you're comfortable with spending on it, but that's a good way to ensure that you get the property. If you're interested in having a free copy of this timeline, you can access it any time by visiting the link renav.com/timeline. It shows up as a PDF, and you can just download it, save it, print it, put it on your bulletin board behind your desk, put it under your pillow at night, whatever you want to do with it. So that's the foreclosure timeline. There was a lot of information there, and let's move on. Now we're talking about resources. How do we find out what's going to sale, when, and how much? And RENAV is only in 20 counties. So some of you might be watching from a county we don't operate in. If you want to go to renav.com, I think towards the bottom of the page there's a list of all the counties that we track. But even if we don't track it, or even if we do track those counties that you're interested in, you can actually get this data for free. You can get it straight from the county public trustees website for those trustees that maybe aren't in the Stone Age and they put all their stuff online and digital. Some actually still don't, and you could still get that data. You just have to go down to the public trustee's office. Or you could subscribe to a data provider like renav.com. We're a local company. We aggregate this data for you in a way that I'm one of the owners of the company. I built this to benefit me, which would benefit you. This is exactly what I'd be looking for. Or a company like RealtyTrack, which, just like, as you know, Zillow and Trulia mostly make their money on advertising, and the data isn't exactly, they would claim it's their number one priority, and I'm sure it is, but it's not always up to date and accurate. So you could get this data for free from the public trustees website, which offers a very limited amount of actually valuable information, or you could subscribe to a service like ours where we're taking hours and hours off your plate and just putting it on a silver platter for you. Regarding auction bids, how do I find out what's going to sale and for how much? Again, you can actually get this data for free straight from your public trustees website or by contacting your local county public trustee. And renav.com is the only company I'm aware of that actually tracks the bids and will email you, if you're subscribing to that service, will email you letting you know, hey, the bids are up, come and get them. You can see what's going to sale. You can see if it's any of your listings, or you can see if it's any properties your investors or yourself might want to buy. So renav.com will also save you tons of time to do your qualification. Here's a screenshot, and this is mostly meant for illustration for statistical purposes. I'm not just trying to hawk my product, of course, although I'm biased and think it's great. Let's use this as an example just to see where the numbers are at, because we might be thinking, well, this foreclosure thing has kind of come and gone. There's really no foreclosures being filed anymore, right? Well, late last week, I actually took these screenshots. And as an example, in Adams County, Arapahoe County, Denver County, and Jefferson County, how many properties just fell into foreclosure in the last 7 days leading up to that day last week? So it's August 1st and through August 8th. By the way, here's a snapshot of the 20 counties that we track. So in those 4 counties, how many properties do you think just fell into foreclosure in just 7 days? There are 66. 66 new foreclosure filings just in those 4 counties just in the last 7 days. That's a lot. Well, I wonder how many of those are not on the MLS, and of course, but should be. So out of those 66 properties, let's do that search. Adams, Arapahoe, Denver, and Jefferson County again, and I check the box not listed. Now just imagine how long it would take for you to look up 66 properties so you get your marketing straight and don't already market to or knock on doors of people that have already listed their houses with a realtor. How many of those are not listed or that we can't find as listed? There are 62. So I think I did the math earlier because I'm not capable of doing this in my head. And that's about 94% of properties that fall into foreclosure are not listed on the MLS. And I've done other similar searches. Rather than them just falling into foreclosure, I'm looking down the line, like 30, 60, 90 days into their foreclosure filing. I'm just doing a random search. How many currently active foreclosures are there that are not listed on the MLS? And I usually do the calculation at about 90%. So you might be thinking, well, when a foreclosure is initially filed, everyone and their mother are sending postcards and letters saying, hey, let me list and sell your house. And I actually think that's true. They're probably still getting a lot of mail. But 30 days into it, 60 days into it, 90% of homes are still not on the MLS but should be. And that might be an opportunity to, because this is a long game. You're a realtor. You don't just typically you don't just strike up a conversation and take a listing the next day. It's a long game. So, and the same thing can be said. You have to capture their attention when they're ready to make a decision. And when an NED is filed, there are 120 days left before they're actually going to lose their house to foreclosure auction. They might stick their head in the sand and not make a decision until 30 or 60 days before they lose their house. So definitely keep in touch with people. Preparing to bid. So auctions are held weekly in every county, but some counties are so small and have so few foreclosures that if no lender submits a bid 2 days before the foreclosure auction in that county, there's not going to be an auction that week. So in smaller counties, if you're not going to subscribe to RENAV and you want to go straight through the public trustee, it would be wise to call them and keep in touch with them to see if an auction is actually going to be held and which properties might be going to sale. In all counties, if a lender does want to foreclose, they have to submit the bid by noon at least 2 business days prior to sale. Ooh, I just said something you might have caught. At least 2 business days prior to sale. Here's a little tip. If you want to jump on your competition, why not go through the the public trustee's website and look for individual properties that you're interested in that are set to go to sale on a certain day and see if maybe a bid is posted more than 2 business days by noon prior to the sale. That could give you a jump start on getting your due diligence done. Most public trustees, at least in the Denver metro area, post their bids around 2 or 3 o'clock, 2 days before the foreclosure auction. I know some counties post their bids a business day, 1 business day before the foreclosure auction. Not to bore you, but that's because the bank has up until noon 1 day before the foreclosure auction to amend their bid by contacting the public trustee. So some public trustees say, well, I'm not going to post the bids until all the bids are in and all the amendments are in, so it's more accurate information. But as far as I'm concerned, I'd rather have it 2 business days before the auction so I can get a start on most of it and then clean up my due diligence after looking at the pulled bids or amended bids. That brings me to another point. The lender can pull the bid or retract the bid up until the second before the foreclosure auction for any reason they want. So some investors might be prepared to bid on a property that's going to sale. The day before the auction, they see it's still going to sale, and 5 minutes before the auction, after they've registered to bid, they're sitting down, they've got their money ready to go. The bank pulls the bid for one reason or another, or the homeowner files bankruptcy, which would stop the sale as well. So sometimes a bidder could get frustrated on that, and that's something to be prepared for if you want to buy a foreclosure auction. Don't worry, next week there's going to be a bunch more properties going to sale. So it's really after the bids come out that you're going to do your due diligence. That might actually be changing in the future, because if more properties go into foreclosure as prices go up, most of these properties falling into foreclosure will probably have equity in it. And if we're coming close to the foreclosure sale date and we think it's going to go to foreclosure auction, you might actually want to start your due diligence beforehand. You also might be wasting your time, because if no bid is submitted 2 days before the auction, well, then that due diligence is only good for a certain period of time. And if it does end up going to sale 6 months later, you're going to have to do that due diligence over again. So most people start their process by waiting for the bids to come out. So here's a screenshot of, I think it's last week's auction, showing properties that actually, some of which actually went to sale. And for an example, in Arapahoe County, we see that 11 properties sold at auction. 7 were bought by the lender and 4 were bought by investors. We were left with 11 properties that actually went to sale. And here's an example of one of those that went to sale, and I believe was actually, was bought by an investor, the winning bidder. So on this screen, I'm looking in the middle section, and you see the the outstanding balance of the debt is actually $251,000. This is an illustration on how much is owed to the lender at the time of the foreclosure sale. But the lender's like, we're owed $251,000, but Zillow, which, is better than assessor at this point because the assessor has such outdated information, Zillow has $251,000 value. The assessor has a $171,000 value. If we open the bidding at what we're owed, who do you think is going to be the winning bidder? And is an investor going to pay retail for this property, assuming it is worth $251,000? Or are we going to be the winning bidder? We, the bank, are going to be the winning bidder. We'll have another REO on our books to deal with. This is one of the 2 ways an REO is born. That's real estate owned by the bank. The other way is if the homeowner gives a deed in lieu of foreclosure. So the outstanding balance of the debt is $251,000. You know what? Let's open the bidding at less than that. Let's open up at a deficiency of $72,000, bringing the opening bid amount to $178,888. $880. That's a kind of obscure number. I don't know how they came up with that. But that actually creates an opportunity for investors, because at $251,000 it would have been a bad deal. And now you see there was actually competition. There was at least 2 people that showed up to bid. Competitive bidding brought the property purchase price up by $8,120, and the winning bid amount was $187,000. Assuming the value is close to $251,000, that might not be a terrible deal, and this could be an opportunity for you to contact the winning bidder, which is actually on another screen. This isn't live, this is just a screenshot. But if I clicked on the trustee tab here, I could see who was the winning bidder and see if maybe they'd be interested in selling me an assignment of their certificate of purchase, because they got an awesome deal. I want to get a great deal. They'll make some money quickly and move on to the next, and I can take on that project. And I didn't have to buy it at auction. So we've got other features, but this one I actually want to show you, not just because of RENAV, but also to point out some opportunity in finding and making deals. If you look up properties, which this screen does, show me properties that sold at auction, not only are you able to see who your competition might be, because these are investors that within the last 6 months bought properties at foreclosure auction, you can see who bought them, how much they paid. This is an opportunity to see if you're wasting your time. You could probably look this up through the Public Trustees website too for free. It's going to be a laborious process. And this is also an opportunity if you've got a deal that you want to sell to an investor. Investors at foreclosure auction are the best buyers in the state because they're cash, as is, no contingencies. Most of the time they buy without even getting inside of the property, and they're able to close it for cash within 2 days or less. So if you've got a property that you want to flip to an investor, a cash buyer ready to go, imagine calling one of these guys. Let's see, the top one is Bewley. Let's go down to the third one, Colfin. You could call Colfin and say, hey, I saw you bought this property at foreclosure auction for X amount. Would you like to maybe pay a little more but get inside of this property that I have to sell? Investors at foreclosure auction love getting those phone calls. Now let's talk about bidding at auctions. This portion is going to be very brief. Oh no, actually, okay. This portion is going to be very brief because every county can actually hold their auction slightly differently. Some counties, like Denver, require that you register to bid at least 30 minutes before the auction. Other counties like El Paso, Jefferson, and I think now Arapahoe, you can register to bid anytime, even during the auction of that property. You cannot register to bid after the property is already struck and sold, but leading up until then, you can register to bid even while an auction is taking place. And that's an opportunity to create more of a bidder frenzy, which actually benefits the bank and the former owner. If we have time, we'll talk about overbid, excess proceeds, and how actually a homeowner could be getting a good chunk of money after auction if there's bidding that goes beyond what the lender is owed and what other junior lien holders might be owed, because the junior lien holder could also try to get those funds. So anyway, the opening bid amount, we talked about that can be what's owed or less. We talked about that the lender can retract the bid before the auction. If you're going to bid at auction, it's you have to wire transfer the funds typically the day before the auction, or I would suggest just bringing in a cashier's check made payable to that county. In some states, you could make like Illinois, you can make the check payable to yourself and then just sign it over to the auctioneer after auction if you're the winning bidder. In Colorado and all the states I'm aware of, you have to bring in a cashier's check made payable, for instance, to the Denver County Public Trustee in order to win that property. And it has to be the day of the sale. So whether it's some counties require 100% of your winning bid amount that day, that minute that you win the bid. Other counties like Denver can say, okay, well, give us $1 over the opening bid amount, which is $100,001. And if you bought it for $110,000, then you can bring in the additional $9,999 by 2 o'clock that same day. But it has to still be that same day. That also has to be a cashier's check. So everything that I'm kind of covering now, go to your local county public trustee's website or give them a call, and they'll talk about the differences for their county versus others and what's required to win a property in their county and how they hold their auction. So we talked about the rest of the items on this slide. At auction, the trustee will identify the property that has been registered to bid on by an investor. And in most counties, most counties, if an investor hasn't physically registered to bid on a property, then the public trustee is just not even going to call it out. Even though the bank submitted a bid, if no investor came in to compete against the bank, then by default the bank is the winning bidder. And there's no need to call it out and hold the auction of it. And that's how, again, an REO is made, real estate owned by the bank, because the bank bought it at foreclosure auction. So some bidders can buy a property for as little as $1 over the opening bid amount, like in Denver, or the bank's bid plus $50 is what El Paso County requires. Again, talk to your local trustee about how much is the least you could win a property for above the lender's opening bid amount. And some counties it's a free-for-all. As long as you've registered to bid, you can jump in and bid each other up. Other counties, again, like Denver, is a very structured process. They will call on you. You call out your bid. And for instance, if you get called on it during this round-robin process and you say you're out, you're out. There's no coming back. Whereas other counties, you can say I'm out and then jump back in last minute. So again, check with your local county. So we talked about this. In some counties, you hand over the check immediately or have to come in within a certain time after the foreclosure auction. But either way, no matter what county it is, a certificate of purchase is recorded within 5 business days showing who was the winning bidder. So bidding at foreclosure auction, we don't have a lot of time to talk about proceeds and excess proceeds. I talked about it a little before. Definitely give me a call or come to another class if you're interested in how homeowners can actually make out with a lot of money and how to advise your clients if they're going to go to foreclosure sale, that maybe it's a good idea to let investors in to see the property and create a bidder frenzy, because the more that the property sells for at auction, the more money the homeowner could potentially get through excess proceeds. I am not advising that as a strategy for getting your client more money. Let me say that again, I'm not advising that, but they should understand how this process works. Or have your client call me and I can explain it to them. So if a junior lien is the one that's foreclosing, I don't want to scare people out of buying a junior lien at foreclosure auction. In this example, let's say there's a first for $100,000, a second for $50,000, and it's the $50,000 that's going to sale. If the property's worth $110,000, buying the second at auction would be a bad idea, because you'd have to bring in another $100,000 to own the property free and clear. Whereas if the property was worth $300,000 and your best guess of what is still owed on the first is about $100,000, sure, I'd buy that second for $50,000. In fact, there's other strategies of holding off on paying that $100,000, and your cash-on-cash return just skyrocketed if you pay off that $100,000, for instance, at the closing after fixing it up. But beware, if the first and second are both in foreclosure and you buy the second at foreclosure auction, do not let the first sell at foreclosure auction, because if it does, that will wipe you off of title and you'll have lost your entire investment. So don't be afraid of buying a junior at auction. Just keep tabs on the first or any senior liens to make sure they don't foreclose before you can pay them off, because that, again, will wipe you off of title. Real estate brokers, if we want to represent an auction buyer, my advice is actually not to do, well, you can do an exclusive right to buy listing contract, the buyer agency agreement. But I would advise having an attorney draft an agreement, A, to cover your butt, because there's a lot of risks with buying at auction and your clients should know it, and B, defining how and when you get paid, because your investor might buy the property at foreclosure auction but then get redeemed out. Are you entitled to the commission? I might say no, you might say yes. Definitely have an attorney draft an agreement explaining how and when you'd get paid. Also, if you're representing an investor at foreclosure auction, or you're even on your own account wanting to find a deal before the foreclosure sale, talk with your, not just attorney, but your managing broker of your office. Because some office policies say, no, that's not going to work, or that, no, that's not going to work unless you have an agreement and disclosure drafted and thoroughly signed and acknowledged by the distressed homeowner that you are buying this property from them before sale, and you're not working with them, you're working against them. The commission, I think, would say that your job as a realtor is to work with and help the public, not work against them. So you're kind of in that zone of needing to disclose fully what your intentions are, including making a lot of money. So ways to protect yourself if you were to buy at auction. All statutory and super liens are senior to any foreclosing lien position, and you have to pay those off in full. Those include any outstanding water bill. Typically water travels with the property, not the person, so you have to pay the water bill if that's the case. Property taxes, city and county liens like violations. There's a 6-month HOA super lien you might have to pay if 6 months worth of dues had gone unpaid leading up to the day the NED was filed. Then you can expect to pay 6 months worth of dues plus maybe some attorney's fees. So, and that's senior to the foreclosing lien position. Another way to protect yourself is not just getting an O&E, not just getting an owner encumbrance report, but a full-blown title commitment. I can't stress this enough. I've seen a lot of investors lose a lot of money. O&Es are great, and it shows who is the owner, what are the encumbrances on title, but it's not an insurance policy. So I would talk with your local title company, or First American Title is one of our wonderful sponsors, or our wonderful sponsor here. Talk with them, talk with your other title companies and see, hey, will you give me a title commitment before I buy at auction? And if I win the bid, I don't want to just pay the TBD $100 fee or $150 or whatever it is. I want to pay for the full-blown title commitment, the owner's policy. And if you get something called a hold open, you might pay a little more, but then you can turn around and flip it to somebody else and not have to repay for that whole insurance policy. Just the difference between what you're insuring based on your $100,000 purchase and what you're selling it for, which is $150,000, you would just have to pay the buyer's owner policy difference plus maybe another fee for reselling it. You don't have to pay the full amount twice. It's important to know that what you're bidding on at foreclosure auction is the legal description in the deed of trust that's foreclosing, not the commonly known address. So beware, look at the deed of trust that's foreclosing and know exactly what you're buying. And of course, if you do buy a property at auction, pay for property insurance and your title insurance immediately following the sale. You're not covered unless you pay that premium, and that's why we get insurance, is to be covered in case there's a problem. Yes, the public trustee will sell a property that by all accounts and all data points is a beautiful home built in 1856, 3,000 square foot. The assessed value is $400,000, opening bids $285,000. I'm all excited about this property. I show up to do my due diligence. I drive by the property, and I don't know if you can see my dirt tracks from where I drove through what used to be a living room and a kitchen and a dining room. That is a dirt lot that the public trustee was selling for $285,000 as if it was a full-blown house. Do your due diligence. Always, always, always drive by the property. And the best thing you can do also is talking to neighbors about the property to get good inside information about the property. And if you have the guts and feel comfortable, this is at your own risk, talk to the homeowner, talk to the property owner. Say, hey, what's your situation and how can I help? And if I'm the winning bidder, I'd love to, maybe pay for your moving truck or help you find another place to stay or something, and try to get inside and do your due diligence. Again, do so at your own risk. So now let's talk about stats, where things were, where things are going. In 2013, there were 16,247 properties in the 20 counties that RENAV tracks that were scheduled to go to sale, of which 7,400 approximately actually went to foreclosure sale. And of those, about 32% were bought by investors, but you'll see things are starting to change in that respect. The average winning bid amount was about $172,000, $171,676. Year to date this year, though, in the 20 counties we track, 3,504 properties have already gone to sale, of which 36% were bought by investors. In a lot of small counties, most properties that sell at auction go back to the bank because there's not a lot of investors that buy at foreclosure auction. But when you get to the metro areas, Fort Collins, Colorado Springs, Denver area, that number is way higher of the amount of investors that are buying at foreclosure auction. But still, on average, year to date, the winning purchase price was about $174,500. In Adams County, well, here you go. Here's the numbers. In Adams County, 51% of properties are bought by investors year to date. Arapahoe, 54%. Douglas, 57%. I was only picking out the 3 counties that were over 50%. I think Denver County was about 49%. That's 49% of properties that go to foreclosure sale are bought by investors. So overall, last year, there's more deals that went to sale, but not as many people are buying at auction. This year, less properties are selling at foreclosure auction, but the quality is higher, so a bigger percent of properties that sell at auction are bought by investors. That's because prices are going up. Whoa, here's a slide that shows how many properties are that had NEDs filed year to date last year in the 20, this is 19 of the 20 counties because we added one recently. Here's 19 of the 20 counties NEDs filed last year, over 8,000. Year to date this year, there's over 6,000 NEDs filed. So yeah, the news reports are true. Year to date, we're down in foreclosure filings by 29%. This is the column I really want you to note. It shows how many current active foreclosures are there now, or last week when I took the screenshot. In Arapahoe County, there's over 1,000 properties currently in foreclosure. In El Paso County, there's also over 1,000 properties currently in foreclosure. And you see some counties have really low amounts of foreclosures, like Clear Creek or Gilpin County. But you see, some of them still 300, 800, 900. There's still a lot of properties in foreclosure, and again, about 90% of those are not on the MLS. And here's 5 of those to actually show you the exact numbers. Here's how many detached single-family homes were on the MLS on August 8th in these counties. Here's how many are currently in foreclosure, and of those in foreclosure, here's how many are not on the MLS. Again, this is all active foreclosures in the cure period. These properties might be going to sale this week or 4 months from now, and still 90% of these properties are not on the MLS. If you're interested in subscribing to RENAV, I'm actually going to be doing a demo after the 5-minute break and after I take some questions regarding the class. But I'm also going to be offering a really great deal. The first county is normally $50 a month. If you want to add a second county, it's $25 a month. Each additional county is $10 a month. If you were bidding at auction and want those alerts 2 days before the sale or a day before the sale of what properties are going to sale and for how much, we're going to save you a ton of time. You can add those subscriptions to the base amounts. But through the Colorado Association of Realtors, we actually created a discount code to get you 25% off of any subscription. And that's not a teaser rate. It's ongoing monthly for as long as you continue to subscribe. By the way, this is a month-to-month subscription. You could try it out for a month, try to make some deals, and then cancel if it doesn't work out for you. Or you can try it out for a month and find a deal, cancel, wait until you're done fixing and selling that property, and then resubscribe later, but you won't be able to capture that 25% off. But you'll see, even without the 25% off, the site is really worth it. So thanks to CAR, you can thank the Colorado Association of Realtors and Wes Parham, who was my coordinator for this class, to get this deal to you, the people, to try to help you get more properties on the MLS or find deals for your clients. If you're interested in a full day class, I totally rushed through this. I apologize. It's because there's a lot of material to cover. I am teaching a full day class that physically starts in Denver County at the foreclosure auction. We meet at about 9:30. We watch the auction at 10 o'clock. And then we go to my conference room where I feed you lunch, hand out materials, and offer 7 continuing education credits to all brokers. This class is accredited and approved by Oliver Fresco as the real estate school. And it's normally $300 for one person or $200 per person for a group of 2 or more that sign up together. If you're interested in signing up for a class or a free demonstration at another time, if you can't make it to this event starting in about 10 minutes, then you can go to this website, renav.com/education, and you can sign up for a free online tutorial that's interactive. You can ask questions during the tutorial and make sure it's right for you. Plus, we offer a free 7-day trial. No credit card is necessary. We're not going to auto-subscribe you. The free 7-day trial, you get access to all the tools in the system. It's all live real time. So even just try it out. Take the demo class for sure, whether it's this 30-minute one that I'm about to do or the longer class. It's about an hour in Q&A. And get familiar with the tool. So thank you so much for attending. We're going to take a 5-minute break right now so you could use the restroom, grab a drink, and please do come back because that's when I'm going to answer your questions, and then we'll get into the demo later. Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron. So with that, we're going to take a 5-minute break. The purpose of this break is to give you one last opportunity to send us any questions that you might have. When we return, we'll have Aaron run down the list. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, we've asked him to spend just a little bit of time after his presentation to demo a service that is uniquely tied to quite a bit of what he's covered this morning. We'll see you in about 5 minutes.
And with Uverse, you can move your TV anywhere in the house.
We're happy with Xfinity. Why would we move the TV?
I don't know, but let me show you.
Now, if you had the Uverse wireless receiver, you could take this anywhere.
See? Anywhere you want.
Don't settle for Uverse. Get the most entertainment on any device anywhere with Xfinity from Comcast.
Who wants more peas?
Go away.
Oh, Daddy hates pop-up ads. Who wants
Go
more?
away.
Hashtag dinner time.
Scroll forward.
Choose selfie. No. Selfie.
Go forward.
Delete selfie.
Go away.
Send picture.
Bookmark. Go away.
No, post photo.
Scroll up. Scroll forward.
Hashtag gravy.
The First Bank mobile app. Technology has never been so easy.
The first thing is the people. Obviously, this business is about the connections you make and the people you trust. And the most important people that I trust in this industry are at this company.
The new beginning. Other companies are doing things the same way they've always done them. And so having a new opportunity to do things a different way is what really intrigued me.
I'd say from a sales perspective, what I love most is that we have really the best of both worlds. So we're a big multi-billion-dollar international company with great financials. But on the other side, we also feel very much like the small little family-run company.
I like the safety of First American, but they've got a human side to them, you know, a little softer, gentler approach. And I really appreciate that. And they've really given me a great opportunity to go out and try and build something for them.
In Colorado, guess what? We're all local. There's 4 local underwriters, and together the other day we have almost 125 years of local underwriting experience in Colorado. And I tell that to people all the time, and that's really the big difference. We can make local decisions quickly to get that deal to the closing table. That's the big difference.
We're a team, and we support each other and look out for each other, and it really promotes more business for us.
First American is all about a work-life balance, and the leadership is incredible because they truly care about the customers or the associates that work here.
This is our customer service department, and the marketing support services that are just completely robust. Marketing is a challenge for a lot of real estate brokers. It's something they have to do, but it takes a lot of time. It can be expensive, and we have a fulfillment solution that is far and away better than anything else that our competitors have to offer.
The leadership is very down to earth, and they move very quickly. So anytime I've needed something or had to support a customer or had to make a decision that maybe cost the company money or whatever, they're very quick to make a decision on that stuff.
You're working with people who have been in this market, in the Colorado market, for 30 plus years. At one point, First American was underwriting almost 70% of all transactions in Colorado, and some of those very people were working on those files.
I really believe our people are passionate about our company and do it better.
Welcome back. I'm sure that was a ton of information to share. We've only got 3 questions, so I'm definitely going to get to them all now. But do keep sending in your questions, and when I go through the demo, the renav.com demonstration, I will still try to answer some questions if they come in or if you have any follow-up questions. So the first question, when you're listing these properties that already have an NED filed, would you list it on the MLS as equitable interest? I would think not. Check with your managing broker. I've got to cover myself and say that always, and check with your attorney. But the property is still owned and controlled by the property owner. I don't see them as having just an equitable interest in the property. They're the owners of the property. It's when the property actually goes to foreclosure sale that they lose any interest in the property. And that actually will bring me back to the old foreclosure law, where a homeowner actually had 75 days after the foreclosure auction to redeem out the auction buyer. Now that has changed. The homeowner loses their interest in the property as of the moment of the foreclosure sale. If you purchase a property at auction, assuming it's a first lien, thank you for clarifying that, do you not inherit the additional liens? They just have an opportunity to redeem the lien, right? You don't inherit, or you are not responsible for any junior liens on title if you are buying a first lien position at the foreclosure sale. So 2 things can happen. 1, a junior lien can file an intent to redeem and redeem you out, in which case you'll get your money back that you bought the property for, plus certain statutorily allowed costs and expenses. Or number 2, they can just not file an intent to redeem, in which case they'll be wiped off of title. I suppose there's a third one also. They can file an intent to redeem, but not redeem you out. If they don't redeem you out, and that's the only junior lien that filed an intent to redeem, then there's 2 reasons they might be doing that. One is they wanted to redeem you out, but they couldn't come up with the amount of money and time necessary to actually follow through with it. Or two, they might file an intent to redeem, not to redeem you out, but actually for those excess proceeds, which I hinted at during the presentation. So just because you see a filing of an intent to redeem after the foreclosure auction doesn't necessarily mean the junior lien holder or the current owner of that junior lien is going to actually redeem you out. But no, if you buy the first at foreclosure auction, you don't inherit that amount. Things that you do inherit, again, are, like I said before, statutory liens, super liens like the 6 months HOA dues, and those statutory liens would be city and county violations, water bill, property taxes. Yeah. So if you buy a junior lien, are you responsible to pay the first lien? Yes. Let me clarify. If you buy a second, you're responsible to pay those statutory and super liens and also the full amount owed to the first lien. Let me change that example. Let's say you buy a third at foreclosure auction. You're responsible to pay off in full the first and the second, the two liens that are senior to your foreclosing lien position. So I think that's it for questions for now. Do still type them in. And now we're going to go over to the demonstration on actually how to use the tool to find deals. So here we have the website, renav.com. I'm on the home page and I've logged in. If you were interested in looking up further education, then you can actually go to the home screen and click on education here, and that will bring you to the education site. In here you see that we have an online Q&A and demo via GoToMeeting. This is live and with one of my business partners or staff members, and so you can interact and ask questions throughout the demo to make sure you're using it to your benefit. And if you want to sign up for a 2-hour class or my full day class, I've got a couple of those coming up, and then again we have another Q&A demo as well. So let's go back to the home page. I'm logged in right now, but whether you're a subscriber or not, if you want to pull comps or see what's active and available on the MLS in a very quick way, we are subscribing through an IDX, or it might be RETS feed with the MetroList, with MetroList. So you can actually pull comps by typing in any property into this property search bar, whether you're a subscriber of ours or not. You don't even need a login. Just type in any address in the Denver metro area, click comps, and you can pull comps. Also, if you're wondering if a property you're about to go on a listing appointment, or somebody said, well, I might stop making payments on my loan, you can type in any address you want in all of the 20 counties that we track. And let's just look up 14679 Radcliffe and click foreclosures, and you can see if the property is currently in foreclosure, what was the filing date, August 12th of 2014, just a couple days ago, and what's the foreclosure sale date. That's some basic information available to anyone for free just by coming and visiting us. And I'll show you what that comps tool looks like in a little bit. So now I'm going to actually show you how you would actually use the system. I click on search properties, and here we have a quick search bar just to type in an address and get details of a loan that's in foreclosure, or a property in foreclosure. If you know the foreclosure file number, you can just put that in here. That's the public trustee's number. And you'll see as I go through the demo, there's an opportunity to flag a property, and you can flag it different colors. You can save searches or select flags. Here's the saved search, and here's the flags, the ability to reference properties that you've flagged certain colors. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to click on advanced search, and this is where most of our subscribers spend the most amount of time. You'll see this is actually similar to an MLS search, sort of. You can search by a map area. You can actually draw a rectangle around a map area. This is interactive. Or you can type in criteria. So I'm going to do Arapahoe County. I'm going to keep it basic. How many foreclosures were filed just in the last 7 days alone? I'm going to perform the search. And there's 25. Well, you know what? I want to narrow it down because I don't want to chase 25 potential listings. Or I've got clients that are looking in a certain price range or a certain for a certain property type. So I'm going to say, well, let's look for properties that are only detached single-family houses with at least 2 bedrooms and at least 2 bathrooms. And here you see, if you're into commercial or agricultural property or vacant land, you can do a search specifically for those types of properties. Attached single family would be condos and townhouses. I'm only looking for detached single family houses. And we've got 11 properties. So here's where I might start, and here's, if the map loads here, we've got the first 10 properties. There's one more that we'd have to expand this table count in order to see. There's the 11th that just popped up. And I'm actually going to go to one property in particular that I saw that would be a good illustration for you, and that's this one I typed in earlier on Radcliffe, just to show you all the valuable information in the tool that'll help you save a ton of time and get straight to the people that could use your help. We think this property is not listed on the MLS, and the current owner is Daniel and Jessica Jones and Bennett's. We have their phone number. Now, of course, it's not guaranteed, and you can do a reverse white pages people search by clicking this link, but we have about 5 to 10% of our records has phone numbers, and definitely give that a shot if you don't mind calling and seeing what they're going to try to do, or maybe just say, hey, I'm a realtor, I have a buyer in your area, would you be interested in selling and maybe saving some costs on realtor fees by just working with me? Last sold, they bought this in 2006 for $189,000, and we do think it's owner occupied. There's a bunch of other valuable information. I'm just going to kind of fly through this, but here's where my eyes go to see whether it's an opportunity for my clients or myself as a realtor to try to list and sell this house. It's got 7,400 square feet of land. It's 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, a detached single family house with 1,260 square feet that was built in 1972. There is a garage and a mostly finished basement. Now I go to the trustee information where it shows the owner's address based on where tax bills are going. Here we have the same address, but if it was different, well, now you know which door to knock on and where to send the letter or postcard if you're going to try to reach out to them, not rather than the property address that's in foreclosure, which might be tenant occupied. Here's the attorney's name and phone number who's representing the lender. The lender that's foreclosing is PNC Bank. And you see the NED was just filed yesterday, and the foreclosure sale date is December 10th. So they have some time to make the decision to not lose their house to foreclosure auction. We have this loans tab that I'm going to point out as just a guess. It is not guaranteed lien information. In fact, it's only deeds of trust that we track on title rather than judgments, mechanics liens, HOA liens. There could be other liens on title. But this is a snapshot of what liens we think are on title. The loan that's highlighted is the one that's in foreclosure. And originally in 2006, the loan was made for $151,200 by Next Gen Lending. And they also made a second mortgage at that time, a second deed of trust, which we can assume maybe is still outstanding. We don't know how much is owed on that loan, but we can kind of guesstimate based on the years that have gone by, maybe paid down a little, maybe stopped paying, maybe accrued some attorney's fees, and now the principal balance owed or the outstanding balance might be $37,000 for all we know. But here's where I talked about during the class the benefit of the notice of election and demand. It shows who currently owns that loan that's in foreclosure. It was made by NextGen, but PNC Bank is the foreclosing lien now. And even though the debt amount when the loan was made is $151,200, what's currently owed is $136,000. If not for the NED, it would have been anyone's guess how much is currently owed on this loan, but the NED shares that information. That's really valuable. Next up is auction and analysis. This will populate information when the bid is posted. Map view shows where the property is. It's interactive. Isn't my developer amazing? He's actually a business partner who is one of the owners of the company. So having the accurate information, one of the business partners works on data. The second business partner who owns the company works on the website design and development and functionality. And I'm just the sales, marketing, and education guy. So yeah, the site is really awesome. Street view. If Google goes there, we go there. And you can go up and down the street, check out the neighbors and so on. It's a very interactive site, saves you a lot of time and effort, and time is everything. How much is your time worth? a subscription starts at $50 a month, and if it saves you an hour of your time, which it will, it should, then the subscription, of course, is very well worth it. Now, here's where I was talking about if a property is about to go to sale, or if you want to find investors to sell a deal to, you can actually click Trustee Sale Comps to, it's just like the MLS comping tool, except it only shows properties that went to sale. So imagine you've got this property that you want to buy before the auction, and you can discuss with the homeowner how little investors are willing to pay for properties like yours at foreclosure sale, or how most properties get bought back by the bank. Or if you wanted to see, let's say you're able to capture this deal and you want to sell it to an investor, I'm looking for properties only sold to investors at foreclosure auction. I'm redoing the search, and here are the best buyers in this area. You can call Terrence Montgomery or the buyout company or the Crushery. Wow, I've never heard that name before. It's kind of funny. So these investors are ready to go buyers, and you can see how much they're paying for these properties. The final bid is what they paid for the property. The value is just assessor value based on when the property went to sale. And of course, we all know assessor values are outrageously low right now because they're not dynamic. It's historic data. And so obviously they're not just making $200 on this property, or obviously these guys aren't losing money, or these ladies aren't losing money. The value spread is just a little off because the assessor is so off. So that's properties that went to sale. Now we have this market comps tool, which is the same as what I was showing you on the front end of the website, where you can just type any address in the metro area. Whereas this, since we're on this file, if we click the link, it brings us to comps right around the subject property. So I might do an adjustment here just based on square footage. I see the property has a square footage of 1,260. So let's go 1,000 square feet to 1,500 square feet for our comps, because you know beds and baths based on assessor data or MLS data can sometimes be a little skewed. But square footage is hopefully usually about right. Let's do a 1/4 mile radius and only detached single family houses that's sold on the MLS. This demo shows our MLS comping tool, which I dedicate to my father, because he was my business partner in Chicago when we were buying at foreclosure auctions. And one time he was at the auction, he said, everyone is on this one property, how much is it worth? And I took so much time to labor over the comps to see how much that property would be worth. And he's like, just give me a value, just give me anything, something to go off of. It could be general or basic. This is your down and dirty comps tool. I just put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of information, just adjusting what was already there. I click go, and I've got a quick down and dirty comp value on average of about $184,000 for properties that sold. But wait a second. Here's one great comp because it's close by. Here's kind of across a major street. 2, 3, 4, and 5 are throwing off my numbers. And you can play around and make adjustments, but I might get rid of 2, 3, 4, and 5. And if whether I have one property or multiple properties, it'll adjust my value down here at the bottom to give me maybe a more accurate look at what the value could be. And of course, you could have done that by going through the public remarks or clicking the link for seeing more pictures. The site is just awesome, and it's meant to save you so much time. And of course, time is money in our business. So that's the comping tool on Renav by clicking Market Comps. And I could go through my values. Well, I think I could sell this for $225, and I think it only needs about $15,000 worth of improvements. I need to make $20,000 on the deal net to even bother investing in it if I wanted to buy it. I'm going to pay about 1% towards concessions based on the sale price at closing, and I need to pay one realtor plus some closing costs. So I'll be conservative and say 5% of the purchase price will go towards other closing costs and holding costs. And I'm so conservative, I'm going to put a $5,000 cushion in there for unexpected items. If I click Save and Update, it tells me what is the most I could pay for this property while still making about 20 grand if I incur these expenses, which I think I will throughout the transaction. And then you can just work your numbers from there. You might even show that information to the homeowner and say, look, I'm interested in making money, but the property needs a lot of work, and it's going to be a long, drawn-out, emotional, complex, and time-consuming process. The most I could pay is $171, and here's my numbers. So that'll save it. This is for your eyes only, by the way, for your login only specifically. And same thing for notes. So I might say Aaron drove by oh, I pressed a button, sorry. Talked to owner, they don't like me. I could save that note, and then maybe my business partner, Wes, because we're working as a team, Wes drove by, owner gave me the listing agreement, Aaron, you're fired. So you can actually save notes, timestamp them, date them. It saves it for your eyes only, for your login only. You can make notes on the transaction and where things are at and communicate that to yourself or others that you're sharing a subscription with. That being said, you're not supposed to share a subscription with people outside of your organization, outside of your individual company. So if you're a broker within a company, other brokers in that company need to get their own subscription, but you're an investment team or you're a brokerage team, we don't mind you sharing a subscription. But if one person is logged in, it'll boot out the other person, and we make you change your password often so that people aren't abusing the system, because we're a local company, and we don't want to be abused like that, taken advantage of. But if you're a team, we do have a feature for a small additional fee where multiple people can log in at the same time. So just let us know if you want that functionality. And then finally, print PDF. You can print onto one page almost all of the information that we just went over, including the notes, where it is on a map. You've got the property information, the foreclosure sale information, the liens that are on title, the property description, the assessor information, public trustees information, owner's information. Auction and analysis will populate in December if it ends up going to sale. You've got street view, and of course your numbers down here at the bottom. Some public trustees don't allow electronics in their room during a foreclosure auction, so this is also something you can just print out and run out the door with, and you have all that information right there for you. Pretty cool stuff. I hope you're impressed. I can't hear you or interact with you, so I hope you're saying, wow, this is cool in the background. I'm going to assume you are. So anyway, that's to look for properties that recently fell into foreclosure auction, but wait, there's more. You can actually save this search. So I'm going to save this search as Arapahoe recent filings, and you can name it whatever you want. You can save that search, and you can actually go to alerts and searches and turn that alert on. Now you're going to get an email anytime properties fall into foreclosure meeting this criteria. And if you're working on a team or working with a client, just like prospecting through your MLS, you can go to settings and actually add Wes at car.com or whatever it is, I don't know. But you can add your customer, your client's email address. Hi Wes, here are properties. I'm not going to type it out, but here are properties that just fell into foreclosure meeting your criteria. Let me know if you want me to knock on a door or send a letter. And then your client will get that information, and they can just communicate with you if they want to try to do something with the property. It's all automated, saves you a ton of time and effort, and it communicates with your client and makes you look good, by the way. That's our goal, is to make you look good. So you can also track individual properties, whether they're in foreclosure or not. And what you do is you just track a new address, and it might be my neighbor's house, my ex-wife's house, or whatever you want behind the scenes. And I might do 2001 Clayton. Actually, I lived in 2000 Clayton when I was in college. So, and it's 80210. And I know this property's not in foreclosure currently, but I'm tracking it. And this could be for your previous clients, just to be alerted if they ever start losing their house. So you know, oh, hey, I was just thinking about you. How are things going? Are you looking to buy or sell anytime soon, to try to stop them from losing their house to foreclosure without really embarrassing them? Or you can track probably your neighbors, or your current clients, if you have a listing and you want to make sure there's no funky stuff behind the scenes because you have your concerns, you should do this for all of your listings as well. Even if it's not in foreclosure, we'll let you know if it ever falls into foreclosure. Okay, so that's looking for deals before auction. Now I'm just going to do a quick glance at properties going to sale. And again, I'll do Arapahoe County. There were 18 properties that were originally scheduled for sale 2 days ago. And between the foreclosure auction and 2 days ago, the foreclosure auction was this morning at 10 a.m., we found that 5 properties, 5 bids were pulled, so we're left with 13. Imagine it's Monday or Tuesday and we're doing our due diligence. We click on these 13 properties, and I might sort from high to low based on equity. Equity is calculated as the difference between the lender's bid amount and the assessor value, which again is low, so keep that in mind. We're looking for the juiciest deals at the top. I'll just go to this Crestline deal, and I might just go to auction and analysis and see, this is just where my eyes would go quickly, and you can imagine how long it would take for you to pull this information yourself. Just quickly, the Zillow value is $258,000, assessor value is $178,000, and the minimum bid amount, the opening bid amount, is going to be $162,000. Even though the debt's almost $300,000, the bank is opening up the bidding at a big deficiency, and that's what creates a real opportunity for a property owner to get a deal before the sale. So there you have the demo on how to use the tool. And if you are interested in subscribing, again, we've got a discount for you, and that code is right here. This is only for a limited time. This code expires on August 22nd and at midnight or just before midnight, and that'll get you 25% off of anything. So I highly encourage you to do a 7-day free trial before subscribing. This will give you enough time to do that, and then go ahead and subscribe. And if you want to sign up for a free demo on how to use the tool, take more time, I just talked really fast, and also be able to interact with the person hosting the demo, do click on renav.com/education and sign up for a demo that way. So thank you so much for attending the session today. I hope you got a lot out of it. I hope it improves your business. I want to thank the Colorado Association of Realtors as well as First American Title for putting this all together. My name is Aaron Lebovic. I can be reached at, I'll give you my phone number and email address real quick. It's 303-250-4440. That's my cell. And my email is aaron@renav.com. That's AARON @renav, RENAV, of course, .com. Thanks for watching. Take care.
The first thing is the people. Obviously, this business is about the connections you make and the people you trust. And the most important people that I trust in this industry are at this company.
The new beginning. Other companies are doing things the same way they've always done them. And so having a new opportunity to do things a different way is what really intrigued me.
I'd say from a sales perspective, what I love most is that we have really the best of both worlds. So we're a big multi-billion-dollar international company with great financials, but on the other side, we also feel very much like the small little family-run company.
I like the safety of First American, but they've got a human side to them, you know, a little softer, gentler approach. And I really appreciate that, and they've really given me a great opportunity to go out and try and build something for them.
In Colorado, guess what? We're all local. There's 4 local underwriters, and together the other day we have almost 125 years of local underwriting experience in Colorado. And I tell that to people all the time, and that's really the big difference. We can make local decisions quickly to get that deal to the closing table. That's the big difference.
We're a team, and we support each other and look out for each other, and it really promotes more business for us.
First American is all about a work-life balance, and the leadership is incredible because they truly care about the customers or the associates that work here.
This is our customer service department, and the marketing support services that are just completely robust. Marketing is a challenge for a lot of real estate brokers. It's something they have to do, but it takes a lot of time. It can be expensive, and we have a fulfillment solution that is far and away better than anything else that our competitors have to offer.
The leadership is very down to earth, and they move very quickly. So anytime I've needed something or had to support a customer or had to make a decision that maybe cost the company money or whatever, they're very quick to make a decision on that stuff.
You're working with people who have been in this market, in the Colorado market, for 30 plus years. At one point, First American was underwriting almost 70% of all transactions in Colorado, and some of those very people were working on those files.
I really believe our people are passionate about our company and do it better.
And with Uverse, you can move your TV anywhere in the house.
We're happy with Xfinity. Why would we move the TV?
I don't know, but let me show you. Now, if you had the Uverse wireless receiver, you could take this anywhere. See? Anywhere you want.
Don't settle for Uverse. Get the most entertainment on any device anywhere with Xfinity from Comcast.
Who wants more peas?
Go away.
Oh, Daddy hates pop-up ads. Who wants
Go
more?
away.
Hashtag dinner time.
Scroll forward.
Choose selfie. No. Selfie.
Go forward.
Delete selfie.
Go away.
Send picture.
Bookmark. Go away.
No, post photo.
Scroll up. Scroll forward.
Hashtag gravy.
The First Bank mobile app. Technology has never been so easy.